Hello, welcome. I'm Rose Suit, and today I'm reading Storytelling for Faith Formation by Brian Lawrence Gonsalves. I was once told a bedtime story by my mother about my grandfather. My grandfather owned a tire retreading business. Every day at 11 o'clock, he would close it down for the night and ride back home. To reach his house, he had to ride past an open cemetery. One night, after closing his shop, he was making his way back home. His loud black ESD bike abruptly stopped near the cemetery. This had never happened before. When one's bike stops in front of an open graveyard in the middle of the night, one is bound to feel a bit worried. A part of your worries, if any paranormal force had anything to do with it after all, it is night and your bike suddenly stopped in front of the one place that is synonymous with the dead, the graveyard. So my grandfather did what anyone would do. He tried to restart his bike, but to no avail. It simply wouldn't start, and there was no one around for miles. Every second he spent there, the more worried he became. So here he was, miles from home, at night, near a graveyard, with his bike's engine having issues starting. It was at this moment that he took out his rosary from his pocket, lifted it high in the air, and loudly started reciting the Hail Mary. Simultaneously, he tried to restart his bike, and this time it worked. The engine roared alive, to the great relief of my grandfather. He promptly got on his bike and raced home, while still loudly reciting the rosary. Hearing this story as a child instilled in me the power of prayer. It taught me that no matter what, during unforeseen circumstances or scenarios, you can always rely on God. It educated me on the aspect of surrounding our obstacles to God, because not all problems can be solved by human effort. Telling stories to your kids about the times God has helped you, actually mentioned in the Bible, not only is it mentioned multiple times, but it is actually stressed upon. Teach them to your children. Speak of them when you are at home and when you travel, when you lie down and when you rise. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 19 through 20. The context before this verse was mentioned was before Moses retelling the Israelites about the signs and wonders God had done for them in Egypt. All the 12 plagues God has done, the parting of the Red Sea, and what happened to the Egyptian army along with their horses and chariots. You, with whom I am speaking, understand all this. Perhaps this may be more difficult for your children, who have not known the teaching of Yahweh or seen his greatness and strength. But you saw the signs and marvels as he did in Egypt against Pharaoh and all his land. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 2 and 3. The primary reason Moses instructs them to teach them to your children, them being the signs and wonders God had done for the Israelites, is because the children were either too young to remember the great miracles performed, or not yet born when they happened. Individuals who know the great things God has done for them have also a moral and religious obligation to tell them not only to their children, but also to make it publicly known. Not so that they may be glorified, but so that God may be glorified, by telling of their personal encounters with Him, His presence and love. Faith is not as much rooted in a doctrine than it is in the discovery of God's liberating interventions. Faith is best learned and ingrained in children by sharing your own religious experiences with them and showing them how God has helped you when you needed Him the most. Faith is passed on from generation to generation, family to family, and person to person. Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of faith is to see what you believe. St. Augustine of Hippo. What better way to instill in our kids the seed of faith than by telling them the very stories and ways of God has blessed us? In most cases, if not all cases, it's not what you say, but rather how. We have before us two choices. The first being that we simply tell our kids to have faith, to follow God, and to trust in Him. which is easier said than done. Or, second, being, we tell them the stories and experiences in our own life where we, as parents, had to place our trust in God and how He was there for us while no one else was. We describe them the situations where God held our hand through the valley of death and how He had no fear while He was with us. We narrate to them the life of the saints and how they all overcame their stumbling blocks and grew closer to God. And finally, we recount the various blessings God has given us. Bless God and give Him thanks before all the living for the good things He has done for you by blessing and extolling His name in song. Proclaim before all with due honor the deeds of God. Do not be slack in thanking Him. A king's secret should be kept secret, but one must declare the works of God and give thanks with due honor. The Book of Tobit, chapter 12, verses 6 and 7. In conclusion, it is by telling, describing, narrating, and recounting the experiences of God's love shown in our life and the lives of others that we can ingrain in our kids faith and the love for God. Alright, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, make sure to like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the article, there's a link in the description below. You can follow Catholicism Coffee and press the applaud button 50 times. 1, 2, 3. Alright, I'll do the rest later. That is all, and may God bless. This is the first time I managed to do it in one take. That's nice. Not perfect, but I'm getting better.